Hi, it's Neil from Mighty Little Green Machine. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a 226-hour review of my 2023-2025R. I'm going to go through the problems that I've had with it, the things that I'm happy with, if there's anything I'm not happy with, and ultimately let you know if I would buy this tractor again. So I bought this tractor just under a year old. I've already got 226 hours on it. Some of the hours are kind of hard. What I've kind of come to find out is when I'm doing work on my own property and there's no time limit, stuff like that, I'm much easier on the tractor than when I'm out doing paid work. Because I'm trying to make money and I'm trying to get jobs done and I'm trying to go above and beyond for the customer. So sometimes I work it a little harder than probably I should. But in spite of that, I have not had a lot of self-induced problems. I have not had actually a lot of problems. But let's get started. Okay, so let's start with the problems that I have had. And like I said, there's not a lot of them. I've had 3 hydraulic hoses go bad on this tractor. One of them I know for sure was a coupling that failed or a crimp. The other 2, I'm not sure if it was crimps that failed or if it was when I sunk it because they were down underneath the backhoe. All 3 lines were on the backhoe. None of them were actually, nothing's gone wrong as far as that goes on the tractor. The tractor has not had to go back to the dealership at all for any maintenance. For those of you that have watched the channel, you know that I had a 1025R before this, and it gave me nothing but problems. And I don't think it's indicative of the 1025R. I think it was indicative of that particular tractor and also some of the service department, but that's another story. And that's really been it for problems. I've been real happy with the tractor overall. I like it much better than my 1025R for a couple of reasons. I don't think that there's, I don't think there's all that much more of a performance increase, a little bit, but negligible. But the size of it, because of the wider stance and the way that it sits, it is much more stable than my 1025 was. I did put 2-inch spacers on the rear wheels, and that changed this tractor dramatically. I highly recommend that if you have one of these or if you get one of these, that you do put spacers on the rear. That really changed it. It felt tippy to me. And maybe it wasn't, but that's how it felt to me when I first got it. When I put those spacers on, it made all the difference in the world. Absolutely all the difference. I find that I can have a full bucket way up high, and this feels very stable still. Not that I'm supposed to do that, but on my 1025, I found that when I had a full bucket, if I went up high with it, I felt like I was going over. I wasn't comfortable. So I also find that because of the larger tires, and these tires are loaded, even without ballast on the rear, I still am very stable when I'm doing loader work. If you watched my video or any of my videos doing that big job that I did where I cleaned up where the was all trees before, and I spread a lot of dirt and sand, and I could do full buckets with no weight on the back and feel very confident in the tractor. I could even bring them up high to dump them, and it felt great. I find that's something that's better on the 2025 than was on the 1025. I like the single point connector for the loader. However, I will say that I don't like the way that it's real hard to get the side panel out of there without scratching it. They have foam and stuff on it, but it's real difficult to get that side panel off. It's got scratches where I've been taking it off, and I'm super careful with it when I take it off. But it's real nice hooking it and unhooking it. I take that off. I take my 2 lines for my third function off, and it comes right off. I also have found that I have not really developed any squeaks or any problems with it in the 225 hours. I've been real happy with that. Even my seat, I'm a heavier guy, as you guys know from my videos, but I've got 226 hours of sitting in that seat, and that seat's still just as stable as it was when I got it. You know, that's a good feature. So I find that the quality is really, really good. Um, it's always started, no problems at all. Cold, hot, doesn't matter. Uh, on this one, on my other one, I had problems with the fuel gauge being inaccurate. I find this fuel gauge to be 100% accurate. It works out really well. I've put a bunch of additions on the tractor. Some I love, some I don't. That's going to be another video. I'm going to go through some of those things and explain to you guys if I would do it again. So um, we won't do that in today's video, but I like, I do like this handbrake where it is. I do like the new design of the handbrake. However, with that being said, I don't like that this thing gets so dirty and stays dirty. It's like a constant battle. I get it. It's a little thing. It's a tractor. I know. But, and then this actually will move a little bit. That's done that since day one. I've never actually looked at it to see um, if I can change it. The other thing that I'm not crazy about is the four-wheel drive selector. It's being so low. I wish it was up higher and easier to get to. Other than that, I can't think of any problems that I've had that I don't like about the controls. I tend to really not use my tilt wheel. I put my wheel in one spot and never tilt it again, but it's there if you need it. I've had good luck with the PTO. I haven't found it to be underpowered really, and I've done a ton of rototilling and a ton of brush cutting with it, and it seems to always keep up and not bog down. I do think that the tractor could use a little more horsepower. When I'm doing loader work and stuff, digging into the pile, I do wish it had a little more horsepower. The benefit is it's a lot less money because you don't have all that extra diesel particulate filter and all that stuff on it. But you know, and the other thing is I did go look at the 32 horse one right after I bought this, and it was so much more money I just couldn't afford it. And we'll talk about price and would I buy it again in a second. So I bought this as a tractor loader backhoe. If you are looking at a subcompact compact tractor, thinking that you may or may not use the backhoe, get the backhoe. Those backhoes just are absolutely amazing at what they will do. I do find that these tractors and that backhoe works way out of its weight class, and I've ended up finding all kinds of projects to do with the backhoe, and it's so nice just having it because I can go hook it up and I can go use it and do it. And it's real expensive. So if you buy it when you buy the tractor, they put it right in with the 0%. Now, is it really 0%? No, because if you paid cash for the tractor, you'd pay a smaller price. But for all intents and purposes, we'll say it's 0%. If you go and try and get the backhoe afterwards, A, it's more money, and B, they'll only finance it for 2 years instead of I think I have 5 on this or 6. So it becomes a lot more expensive. So I found that cost prohibitive on my 1025. I wish now that I had gotten it on my 1025. I love it. Love it, love it, love it on my 2025R. You guys have seen me, if you've watched the channel, work the heck out of that backhoe. I've probably got 100 hours on the backhoe. You know, and it's a nice overall combination. I can't afford, trust me, I would love nothing more to have a skid loader and a tractor and a small excavator. I can't afford it. This is what I can afford. So I get to do all of those jobs, albeit not as good, but I can do them all on a budget and be able to do all that work with one machine, with one smaller outlay of money. And of course, the other benefit too then is I don't have 3 machines to maintain. But this has filled a great niche for me. I think it's a good size. The other reason I was talking about the size earlier, and the other thing I liked about it over the 1025 is the height. I used to bottom out my 1025 all the time. If you're going to be working off of flat ground, in the woods, round rocks, stuff like that, and you're looking at tractors right now, it's not all that much more money to go to the 2025R from the 10, go with the 2025R. It's not that much bigger that it's really going to be a problem. But with that extra ground clearance, I have been in some really, really nasty places. You've seen me building this road, and I have never bottomed this tractor out. It's just enough. I mean, if I bottom it out, and I shouldn't have been there, and I have not done that yet. So I do highly recommend going to the 2025. Okay, let's talk about my tire choice. Again, I've got 226 hours. These are the hybrids, so they're a radial tire that is in between the ag tire and the turf tire. I would 100% buy these tires again and again. This is my second set. I had them on my 1025. They are great in the snow. They're great in the mud. They don't tear up my lawn. Now, I don't mow with this, but I do drive on the lawn a lot when I'm doing things, and they don't tear the lawn up. And so if you're looking, if you haven't bought a tractor yet, or if you have to replace your tires, look at these tires. They've held up really, really well. They still have a ton of tread on them. And I drive it on the road a lot because in order to get down to where I park it, I have to go on the road at my house, and I'm back and forth all the time. And they've held up just perfectly. I would highly recommend going with these tires as an option. Okay, the toolbox. I kind of like it here. I know some people say they don't. The reason I like it here is I always bent mine up on the 1025 because it just seemed like I was always catching it on stuff. The other thing I like about the 2025 is it's got the bigger frame piece in the front. You can hang weights on the front of this when you need it. It's not really designed to do that, but you can do it without damaging the tractor. I think I can put 5 of them in there if I remember correctly. 5 70-pound weights. So I do like that feature on it as well. The downfall is that you can't get as tight to things. In other words, and especially with this on here, if I'm loading a trailer or I'm trying to get close to stuff, I'm farther out always. I can't get as close, which can be a problem sometimes when you're trying to dump into something that's smaller, because the lift height really could be a lot better. Okay, so lift height and lift capacity. The only reason it's got any more height really than the 1025, because it uses the exact same loader, is because it's got taller tires on it. So you do get a few more inches. It's still not enough. I wish it lifted higher. The other thing is lift capacity. The John Deeres just have a very low lift capacity as far as weight goes. There are other options out there that have a much better lift, and we'll talk about that in a second. But I do think that that's a downfall to the tractor. Using it every day, does it hold me back? Not really, but it does sometimes slow me down. And there are sometimes things that I wish I could pick up that are really not all that much heavier than its lift capacity. So I do think that John Deere should have a higher lift capacity on these. And also a little bit higher height on it as well. I think they do it for safety reasons. I don't know. But that's just my feeling after running it now for a year and putting all these hours on it. Yeah, another thing that I wish was different, it's not the end of the world, is I wish it had better gauges or more information on the gauges, and I wish the fuel gauge was up in the dash. I tend to forget to look at it. It's right here. It's not like it's hard, but I tend to forget to look at it. I've run it out of fuel once. Luckily, it was here. But it would be much easier if I could see the fuel gauge up here. I don't know what, it shouldn't be that much more money to put a fuel gauge up there. I get it, this was mechanical and probably saves them $5, but I would like to see that. Maybe even a little more information up there. But again, not the end of the world. This is just, if I was going to redesign this tractor myself and say, okay, here's how I want it. These are things that I would do. Other than that, I find it to be very good on fuel, especially if I'm using the backhoe or the front end loader. Now, when I'm running a 3-point hitch, like my rototiller or my brush cutter, and I'm doing any kind of hills or heavy stuff, it drinks a lot more fuel, more than double what normal. But this thing really just sips the fuel when I'm running it to do loader work, pull stuff, to do backhoe work. So it's pretty economical on fuel. I run off-road diesel in it. I do run an additive in my fuel. I run a cetane booster and a treatment for the fuel. I buy my fuel 55 gallons at a time. I treat the big container so it's treated, and I think that's important. I think you should run a cetane booster. The cetane, for those of you who don't know, in diesel is very similar to, it would be similar comparison to octane in gasoline. And commercial diesel has a low cetane rating, lower than it needs to be. And there's also no what they call lubricity, no lubrication in the diesel fuel. And that's tough on the motor. So that additive also adds lubricity. So if you're not running an additive, look into getting an additive, and there's a million of them out there. It's, I happen to run Howes right now. Whether I'll stick with that, I don't know. But and the other thing that it does is it gives it a treatment for the cold so it doesn't gel. I've never had my fuel gel. I don't have a heater on it. The tractor does sleep outside under in a shelter logic, so it's in the elements. And I've had it started below zero, no problem. So that treatment has really made the difference. Not that I would really know if it wasn't working, because I've never run it without it, but I do recommend running it in there. Okay, would I buy it again? It's kind of a tough question right now. I don't know that I would buy it again. Not because I'm unhappy with the tractor. I love the tractor. I love everything it does. But because I feel like there are some other brands out there now that would give me more of the lifting capacity, more lifting height, and even I could do a larger horsepower tractor for much less money. So this is my third tractor that I've personally owned. I've owned a Kubota, and I've had a 1025R and a 2025R. And originally when I looked at my 1025R, I actually was going to buy a Coyote because of lift capacity. And I couldn't get financed by them. I think that what John Deere and Kubota have going for them is they've been around so long, they've got a great financing program that when you don't have the best credit, they will give you financing even though when others won't. But I think part of that is that I think they're overpriced. I really do. I do think that both the Kubota and the John Deere are overpriced tractors. That's just my feeling. Doesn't mean it's right or wrong. I know that I have looked at other brands recently, and I'm not doing anything because I can't afford it, but I was just curious. And I looked at another brand that had 2,200 pounds of lift capacity, which is, I would love to have 2,000 pounds, be able to move a pallet of pellets. That is 38 horsepower instead of 25, even with all the diesel stuff on it, with a cab, with air conditioning, and with heat. And to buy basically the same setup I have here, the tractor loader backhoe, it's the same price I paid for this tractor with open station in 25 horse. So are there better values out there? Probably. If you don't have a tractor and you're right here watching this video now because you're trying to decide what you want to buy, I wouldn't discourage you from buying this. I absolutely wouldn't. I love this tractor. I think the quality's good. I think it's going to last me a very long time. But I would encourage you to look at some of the other options that are out there. And there's a bunch of, if you go to Rock Hill Farms with Brock, he's done a ton of tractor testing. And he's been able to get access to have them on his property and use them and drive them and show you. And I would encourage you to do that research and look at some of the other options. I think if I was going to go buy a tractor tomorrow, it wouldn't be another green one, just because of price. Like I said, I love the tractor, and I also think though that there's some other options that are good out there too. So I don't know. It's a tough call. Bottom line though is I love this tractor. I wouldn't hesitate to buy it if you're looking at them and you're thinking about it. They work way out of their weight class. It's amazing what these tractors will do without really, being hard on them. I'm just completely amazed, and everything I've asked of this tractor to do, it's done for me for the most part. And each time I try to do more, it seems to do it. Like I said, you've got a few things that hold you back, but it's definitely not horrible. So right now, you can see it's in a million pieces. I'm in the middle of doing my 200-hour service. I'm a little late, and I'm actually going right through the tractor. I took it apart way more than I had to because I'm going to clean it, and I'm going to lubricate all the different points that, shift points and stuff like that, and just go through the whole thing. so that it's ready for when I go back out and start working again, because I don't tend to get much time in between, and I want to keep the tractor nice. They're big investments. You know, I paid as much for this as I would for an inexpensive car, so I want it to last me a long time. I want to keep it nice. You know, odds are this will probably be around with me for a very long time. Um, I probably won't be getting a new tractor. Yeah, would I love to go maybe get something with a cab? I've got a little spoiled. I rented a mini excavator and it had air conditioning in the heat, and it was real hot when I was working it. And boy, I got to tell you, it was nice. Um, but I don't think that's in the cards. So I appreciate you watching the channel. If you've watched any of my other videos, you can see, or if you go watch my other videos, you can see this thing in action doing all kinds of stuff. And like I said, I wouldn't discourage you from buying it. It's a really nice tractor. I thank you all for your support, and I'll see you next time on Mighty Little Green Machine.